It's time for Step Out of the Boat with Pastor Greg Scott of Fellowship of Faith Church in Rio Grande. Like Peter stepped out of the boat in faith to walk on the water with Jesus, Pastor G will challenge you to take a baby step of faith each week as you follow Jesus. Now, here's Pastor G.
Hey everybody, it's Pastor G. I've got a guest speaker on the program this week. I'm taking some downtime, so this week's message is brought to you by Fellowship of Faith's own pastor of student ministries, Craig Sanders. And now, here's Pastor Craig.
Good morning, FOF. How's everybody doing this morning? My name's Pastor Craig Sanders. If I haven't met you before, consider this our introduction. I'd love to meet you after the service. I'm the student ministries pastor here, and if you are a 7th to 12th grader and you're looking for something to do on Sunday nights or even Wednesday nights, come see me afterwards. We'd love to get you a part of what we do on both those nights. We have a lot of fun with that. First of all, I'd like to just take a minute and just kind of comment on the Welcome Home video that you saw. That was actually played on ESPN over the 4th of July. And, of course, you guys know that I'm a huge sports fan. So of course, I saw that like 20 times. And probably every time that I saw it, I probably cried every time because you guys, of course, know I cry like I am now already. So... I think it's really neat that we have opportunities to really see that we capture those things on film because I think at times we miss those opportunities and we don't show the encouragement that we get, whether it be for the troops or just for parents or whatever it might be. I think it's really neat that we're able to do that. So this is what I would like. If you have a son or a daughter who is participating in the military right now, or you have served in the military, will you please stand up? I know Chris is standing up in the back there, and Kathy, okay, Shane, Jim, all right. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for what you do. One of the cool things about being a pastor is, there are a lot of cool things about it, but one of the very cool things is whenever you have extremely good friends and they have a kid, you get to do a baby dedication. So this morning, this morning I get to baptize little Bowen. So Chris and Ashley, will you please come up front? I'll try to not cry. All right, let's pull it together here. Let's get it together. Hey, I heard you talking to us down there. I thought that was pretty cool while the video was going on. Would you like to say anything, Bowen? You're not going to talk? You're not going to talk right now? Okay, well, we're going to talk here in just a little bit. Like I said, one of the neat things about it is Chris and Ashley have been great friends of ours. Jenny and I have really got to hang out with them the last couple years since we've been here. But the best part about it is we got to really become closer through Bowen, even through when Ashley was pregnant. Whenever she would yell at Chris, it was like she was yelling at Jenny and I too, so that was fun. And of course, my personality is to just kind of yell back at her and to get her back in her place a little bit. And so we were able to have a whole lot of fun with that. But the best part is to be able to hang out with this little guy. His personality is awesome, just like his hair is. As you guys can tell, he has like the best head of hair I've ever seen on a baby, I think, too. The bad part is he does kind of look like Chris, so we've got to figure that out a little bit. But other than that, I think he'll be fine. And he does like to talk. We just actually got back from vacation this past week, and the entire way home, most babies, whenever they get in a car, they just sleep the entire time, which on the way down he did very well. But on the way back, he said, nuh-uh. I want to make sure you guys are hearing everything I'm talking about here. So he talked the entire time. And, of course, Jeni and Ashley had their phones out the whole time filming it. And they were just back there laughing. And Chris is trying to drive and look in the back seat, which his driving's bad enough. So there's no really sense in him doing that. But I think it's really neat because we get to do this together as a family, as just a lot of fun together as a church family. But then also they've brought a ton of family with them, which we're going to acknowledge them in here in just a few minutes too. So for me, it's just a very, very special time. I think our alarm is going off because the battery might be low. Somebody wants to hit that thing, that'd probably be good. Is it over there? Jamie's got it? Okay. All right. So we're going to get real spiritual real quick here, and then we'll have a little bit of fun here in a little bit, okay? So Chris and Ashley, I wanted to read a little bit of scripture to you from Matthew chapter 19. Steve, if you can go ahead and put that up, which you've already done. You're amazing, of course. It says, "Then little children were brought to Jesus for him to place his hands on them and pray for them. But the disciples rebuked those who brought them." 14, maybe not. Okay, there we go. Jesus said, "Let the little children come to me, and do not hinder them, for the kingdom of heaven belongs to such as these." So in this situation, basically what's happening is, all these kids are coming to Jesus. There's a lot of different people that are saying, no, this is just kind of an adult thing. And Jesus is saying to them, no, this is the new generation. This is the group of people that we need to be putting our faith in, these young people, just like this little guy right here. I can't wait to see who Bowen's going to turn into. And I know with great parents like he has and a great family backing and a great church, he's going to be able to do that. So as a congregation, I wanted to just kind of share with you a little bit about the reasoning behind this dedication. It says, "The family is a divine institution ordained of God from the beginning of time. Children are the heritage of the Lord, committed by him to their parents for care, provision, protection, and spiritual training. It is good when parents recognize all, not just some of these, but all of these obligations and responsibilities, and make every effort to fully carry them out." In this act of dedication, Chris and Ashley acknowledge these responsibilities and come before us today to dedicate themselves and Bowen to God and his will for their lives as a family. Chris and Ashley, I've got a couple quick questions for you guys here. The first one, you can say "we will" together, and then, of course, the next two will be "I will" on an individual basis, which I'll walk you through those. So after I ask you this question, you can say "we will." Will you accept your God-given responsibility to raise Bowen in a Christ-centered home? If so, say "we will." We will. Chris, as his earthly father, will you give Bowen the time and attention and affection, and also make him use his left hand to pitch, that show the true nature of his Father in heaven? If so, say "I will." I will. Definitely the left hand. Let's make sure we get that one right, okay? Ashley, as his earthly mother, will you give Bowen the special attachment he craves from you and the special nurturing touch that you are uniquely gifted by God to give him? If so, say "I will." Now, family, which is the whole left side of the church here, which is really good. Will you please stand? First of all, let's just give him a hand for showing up. I have two questions for you guys, and if you will just reply back "we will," that would be great. As close relatives to this family, will you conduct your lives in a way that reinforces the biblical values that Bowen is taught in his home? If so, say "we will." Will you regularly pray for Chris, Ashley, and Bowen? Thank you very much. You may be seated. Now, as a whole congregation, will you please stand? Congregation, will you, as the community of faith, support Chris and Ashley and Bowen by the Christian love and example you set by your lives? If so, please say "we will." You may be seated. Can I see the little guy?
Yeah, a little wet.
Oh. Oh. Bowen, we're just going to hang out up here together, I think, my man. I would like to pray for Bowen and for Kristen, for Ashley. Would you guys please just bow your heads? Dear gracious Heavenly Father, I thank you so much for this couple and the friendship that we have with them. But most of all, Lord, that I just pray a special blessing just for them and, as parents. This little guy that I have in my hands, he's an awesome little guy already. He's already talking and moving around and just having a ton of fun. And I just pray that as parents, that you would give them the opportunity to raise this young man in a Christian home, that they would rely on you in everything that they do, and that they would show Bowen in every step of his life that he can count on you. Talk to us, big fella. Talk to us. I thank you for Bowen and everything that he's going to be and who he wants to be, Lord. And I pray that you would just continue to be with Chris and Ashley and just let them show him the love that you have given them and the relationship that they have built with you. It's in your awesome name that we pray. Amen. Amen. Bowen. Jimmy, are you okay, my man? Your shirt's all over the place here. Do you want me to walk with you? I know that you like that a lot. See, we could just walk around and you could be all right, I think. Yep. See, there we go. Will you guys please give Chris and Ashley a hand as they exit, because I'm going to keep Bowen with... No. There you go. I love you guys. I love you, Chris. Thanks for not crying on me. And then make sure I don't cry. What a special opportunity. I think a lot of times, even as a pastor, there are a lot of times that I take things for granted, or maybe I might get frustrated or get upset just over, just normal, everyday things. I think Bowen, spit on my shirt a little bit. It's a little bit wet. But the opportunities that we have to spend quality time with you as a church family and the relationships that we're able to build with you is something that Jenny and I know Greg and Annette, Steve and Jess, and Jamie and Amy, that we take very seriously, and we love every part of that. And those moments right there, whether I stumble over myself or we make tons of jokes or whatever it might be, those are things that we're going to carry with us and that we're going to remember for the rest of our life. It's not going to be those Sunday morning sermons or different things of that nature, or just everyday office hours or whatever. It's going to be those moments. So I want to thank you guys for giving me an opportunity to do that. I know a lot of times we do those things on fifth Sundays to be able to have a little bit of time, but it's really neat to be able to speak to you for the entire month here, but then also have some special opportunities just like that too. So let's kind of change gears here just a little bit. One of the things that, like I just said, that I think is going to be pretty cool, I get to spend the entire month with you. It's not every month that you get to hear from your youth pastor. And so let me just say this right off the bat. Let me ask for forgiveness instead of permission, because as a youth pastor, there's going to be some things that probably come out of my mouth that you're like, oh my gosh, there's no way Pastor Greg could say that. That's right. There's no way that he could say it, but I get to say it because I'm just that young guy who gets to kind of talk out of the side of his mouth at times and then ask for forgiveness. And I know that you guys are going to give that to me, right? Okay, 3 people are going to give me that forgiveness. Other than that, that's it. So I guess we got a lot of work to do this month. No. One of the things that we're going to really look at is this brand new series, this 4-week series called Broken Roads. This is a part of our 2013 year-long series that's called The Journey. So far, you guys have heard from Pastor G and Pastor Jamie a couple of different times throughout the month or throughout the year, and this is my opportunity to speak. And I'm really excited about this Broken Road series because I think a lot of times the way we go about things as pastors are a little bit different. My way of thinking is different than Jamie's and different from G's, which is really good. I'm excited about that because what I want to be able to give you in this Broken Road series is just real life application. I think that you guys have heard a lot from, even in the first couple months, from Pastor Jamie, okay? The first month he talked about sacred pathways, different ways that you can relate to God. And I think he did an amazing job with that. He did a very nice job at helping you understand how you can start to walk in God. And I love that about that. And then Jamie challenged us with helping us jog our memory, understanding what the Bible talks about and being able to relate that to our lives and also grow in that word, which I think is even more important. And then Pastor G, he kind of went on even this past month and talked about, helping you set some goals and dream a little bit and really ask God where he wants you to be, which for me is right up my alley. I love coming up with crazy ideas and dreaming a little bit and then seeing if I'm on the same road as God, okay? First and foremost, that's where we want to be, okay? We want to be able to grow in God so much that we're able to say to him, okay, God, where do you want to take me? Where do you want me to go? Where do you want me to serve? What are you asking me to do? And sometimes that's pretty nerve-wracking. I love watching Facebook and even Twitter some to see what some of your guys' responses are. And I think through this last 6 months here so far, you've been stretched by God. I think God has really used your faith and challenged you through that. But here, in this Broken Road series, here's what my goal is. My goal is to Hulk smash everything that you've learned so far, okay? Because here's the thing, okay? Everything that Pastor Jamie said and everything that Pastor G said, those are nice things to do, okay? Those are really nice things to do. But is that real life? I mean, every day, when Pastor G's talking about, oh, you should dream, you should do this, you should set some goals, and you're sitting in your seat thinking, hey, do you know my story? Do you know what's going on in my life? You want me to dream this big dream and to follow you and really follow what Christ has for my life, and I can't pay my bills, and my health is horrible, and right now my living situation is terrible. So for me in this month, and this suits my personality perfectly, is that we're gonna walk down a broken road a little bit, okay? We're gonna meet some people and hear some stories from around our community and around the country that aren't the best stories in the world, okay? That have fallen on hard times. Because I think that as I walk with Christ, it's not always perfect. To be very honest, it's very rarely perfect. There are plenty of things in my own life that every day that I try to walk with God that I struggle with, and then I have to say, oh, well, there's that name kind of in front of my name called Pastor Craig, and I've got to be able to keep it together long enough to help those around me who are in worse shape than I am. Well, I want you to understand that as we walk through this series, you're going to hear some of those stories. You're going to hear some of those hardships. But I can't just leave you with the hardship, okay? Because that's not my MO either. I can't just tell you a bad story about somebody's sad life and then be like, okay, let's go to Bob Evans, okay? That's not the way that really works. Because I think a lot of times through that trial and what you're going to hear through these stories are how God just kind of comes into their life, and whether they know it or not, as they're walking through the storm, their life begins to change. They have that light bulb moment where God kind of shows up and they say, oh, okay, my life is bad, but here is the road I'm supposed to walk on. There was a couple weeks ago, I saw a picture of a road, and I was trying to find it for you guys. It was somewhere around in here. If somebody can maybe tell me after service where it was, so I can show that picture next week, that'd be fine. But literally, there is a pretty well-known road around here, and I guess maybe it got too hot, or I don't really know. But anyway, it kind of burst apart, and there was this, I wouldn't even say it was like a pothole. It was basically like a big crack in the road, kind of like a little mini earthquake had happened or something of that nature. And I think a lot of times, I don't know about you guys, but I think that's kind of what my faith journey, my faith walk really looks like is, my road is straight and I know where I should be going and where I should be walking, and then all of a sudden life kind of pops up And it's not just like a little crack in the road, it's like an explosion in the road, kind of like something that the Hulk would do, I guess. But I think for many of you guys, that's where you live. And if not, if you have that perfect life, if you're working through things and your life is just great, then this month might not really apply to you. And you know what? That's great. I love that. I love, and this is not sarcasm, I love the fact that we can help other people, but if you're ahead of the game, if you're moving forward and you're past that, then you know what? That's amazing. That's awesome. Here's what I would say to you. Link up with somebody that's in front of you or around, sitting around you that struggling a little bit. Because I think there are a lot more people that are on this broken road, that are looking for road signs, that are in the middle of construction in their life, trying to figure out which way is up. Okay? Do I think that what Pastor G shared and even what Pastor Jamie shared is relevant? Heck yeah, I do. Those are two guys that I rely on a ton. Even when they're preaching, whether I'm working in children's ministry and helping them out or whatever, we've got it on out there. So we're hearing what they're saying and what's going on, and everything that comes out of their mouth is pretty relevant. Just some stuff, no. Most stuff that comes out of our mouth I think is very relevant. But many times, just like most people around us, okay, you're going to have those times where you see broken roads or broken hearts or broken dreams. And for you guys, like we've kind of touched on already, it can get emotional, right? It can get emotional. Like even in the back, you guys know, of course, as I've already shown so far, that I cry on the drop of a hat, basically. And I even got a text from Amy this morning and said, hey, are you ready? Don't cry on the first week. Well, that happened in about the first 2.5 minutes, I think. But even as Steve and the band were playing back there, I was thinking about what this series could be and what it could be for you guys. And I'm really excited because you're gonna get a firsthand seat, okay, to see how God has started to change people in this congregation, in this community, and then in this country, because I think that's very important. I think it's very important to be able to see how God is working all around you. This morning, what I'd like to start out with is a couple quotes from a man named Lou Gehrig. Does anybody know who Lou Gehrig is? If you're a guy, your hand probably should go up. If not, please see me after the service. But Lou Gehrig was a baseball player for the New York Yankees. He was one of the greatest first basemen of all time. This guy, they called him the Iron Horse. The reason they called him the Iron Horse is because he played in 2,130 straight baseball games. I don't know if you guys can understand this or not, but this is like this record was a record that stood all the way up into, I believe, 1998. Cal Ripken broke that record, and they called him the Iron Man, not the Iron Horse. He had his own cool nickname. But this guy played through just about everything. I read this week about the fact that they took an x-ray of his hands after he got done playing, and that he had so many fractures in his hands and broken every finger and broken his hands several different times, and not once did he ever come out of a game. That to me is dedication. Okay, that to me is commitment. This is a whole different sermon, but those two words, dedication, commitment, are a pretty big deal that we don't see a lot of times in our realm, okay? And I can tell you about the softball team at different times about the lack of at times, but no. But I think that kind of commitment right there shows me that this is the kind of guy that I want to learn about. This is the kind of guy that I want to follow. I want to find out some more about. I don't know if you guys know any more about his story, but Lou Gehrig, most of you guys know, have you heard of ALS before? ALS disease? They call it Lou Gehrig's disease. At the time, Lou Gehrig, his career batting average was .340, okay, which meant basically 3 to 4 out of every 10 times he was up to bat, this guy hit the ball, okay? He was very, very good at what he did. And so it was actually about this time in 1939, he started to see his career numbers really even in 1938, really started to see his career numbers really dip a little bit and couldn't figure out why. He knew he wasn't feeling the greatest, but wasn't going to tell other people because he was that staple. He was the New York Yankees captain. Okay, you guys have heard of Derek Jeter, and you know what that captain, what that C on his chest really means. Well, Lou Gehrig kind of set the tone for that. He was the Iron Horse like we talked about. There's a short little video clip that we have here, and then we're going to talk a little bit about that. So, Steve, if you can please play that.
For the past 2 weeks, you've been reading about a bad brag. Today, I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth. That I might have been given a bad break, but I've got an awful lot to live for. Thank you.
Okay, so Lou started out his farewell address, and this was on July 4th. He said, "Fans, for the past 2 weeks, you have been reading about the bad break I got. Yet today I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of this earth. I've been in ballparks for 17 years and have never received anything but kindness and encouragement from fans." Look at these grand men. Maybe you couldn't see it from the video, but many of the players from the 1926 and 27 Yankees teams all the way up through were there. So that just kind of tells you about the character of Lou Gehrig. Which of you wouldn't consider it a highlight of his career to just associate with him for even one day? Sure, I'm lucky. Who wouldn't consider an honor to know Jacob Rupert, also the builder of baseball's greatest empire at Barrow, way before George Steinbrenner and the Yankees? To have spent 6 years with the wonderful little fellow Miller Huggins, then to have spent the next 9 years with the outstanding leader, the smart student of psychology, the best manager in baseball, Joe McCarthy. Sure, I'm lucky. Then it goes on to say, when the New York Giants, New York baseball Giants, a team you would give your right arm to beat and vice versa, sends you a gift, that's something. When everybody down to the groundskeepers and those boys in white coats, meaning like the guys who got the foul balls and different things of that nature, remember you with trophies, that's something. When you have a wonderful mother-in-law, which I wonder what that's like, who takes sides with you and squabbles with her own daughter, that's something. When you have a father, my mother-in-law is not here today, but I guarantee she'll hear about that. When you have a father and a mother who will work all their lives so you can have an education and build your body, it's a blessing. When you have a wife who has been a tower of strength and shown more courage than you dreamed existed, that's the finest I know. So he said this, so as I close in saying that I might have been given a bad break, but I've got an awful lot to live for. For me, that quote right there is tremendous. Lou Gehrig is understanding perspective, okay? For many of you, whenever tough times come, okay, we've talked about this before. When tough times come, a lot of times we just bury our head. We don't rely or talk to anybody. We don't ask God why we're going through this trouble or why it's happening to us. Basically, what we do is we just kind of grovel in our own sadness and our own tough times. I don't know about you, but that's like the definition of how I do things. I don't have good perspective. When things are tough for me, it takes days and weeks and months for me to understand why God is testing me, why God is putting me through troubled times. And ultimately, it's very easy for us to just blame God. Why are you doing this to me? I've done everything I could possibly do. Have you been there? Have you said those things? I know I have. I know I have a difficult time having perspective. Here's a guy in Lou Gehrig who was one of the greatest baseball players of all time. all time. He wasn't just some average first baseman for the Yankees who happened to get sick. No, this is a guy who played tons of games, who was very productive, who pushed Babe Ruth. When Babe Ruth was hitting tons of home runs, Lou Gehrig was right there. One crazy stat that I read was one season, Lou Gehrig and Babe Ruth hit more home runs than every Major League Baseball team except for one. Just those two guys out-hit every other team in the major leagues. So you talk about the star power on those Yankees teams. And here's a guy who goes on to say that whenever he has an issue, okay, with this disease, which they didn't know very much about at the time. So as I close in saying that I might have been given a bad break, but I've got an awful lot to live for. This guy was so weak that whenever they gave him the trophy, and they gave him a picture too, in this video, he couldn't even hold it. And the day before, a week before, he was playing baseball. He was trying to play for his team and be that captain. That, for me, shows me the commitment and dedication that we need to be more and more like as Christ followers, okay? Many times when we walk through bad things, when we have broken dreams or broken hearts, what we want to do is just crawl in a hole. We don't want to dream like Pastor G was talking about. We don't want to try to figure out how we can relate to God in those times like Pastor Jamie was talking about. We just want to kind of grovel. And what I want to tell you today is that God is working through people just like you in troublesome times, okay? He's working through my life and the truckloads of emotional baggage that I carry around with me and the things that Jenny and I go through personally. He continues to show up every time. Every time that we start to doubt him a little bit, that's when he flexes his muscles the most and really shows up. So for some of you guys today, I think, these sermons in the next 4 weeks, there's not going to be like 8 billion scriptures that are going to be up there, okay? What it's going to be is it's going to be real life. There are going to be people that are going to share their heart and share their story, and I want you to be able to relate to that. I want you to be able to say, you know what? What I got going on wasn't as tough as what Lou Gehrig had, What I have going on is not as tough as the story that I just heard. And to see how God is working through those people and their lives, that to me is extremely exciting. The next person that I'm going to get ready and bring up is somebody, of course, that's really special to me. But I think more than anything, she has a great story to be able to show you guys that through troubled times, through things that are extremely difficult, she has an opportunity to share God and the situations that she has in front of her. I'm going to ask my wife, Jeni, to come and share with you guys. I think that this is going to be extremely powerful for you because just even in the times when we were dating and the things that we had to go through just in that short period of time, it was exciting to see how God was really, I about fell down there. Really exciting to just see how God is going to use her. You want to sit down?
Sure.
Okay. I'll sit beside of you so it looks like I'm a loving husband. How about that? So I don't know how many of you guys know. I better move this so you guys can see over here. But Jenny and I. Oh, okay. Yeah, you're loud enough. Okay, I think you're on. Yep. Jenny and I have been together for, about 10 years. Well, right around 10 years, I guess. And been married for how long? It'll be 9 years in about a week. Or no, less than a week, which is kind of cool. What was the date again? Do you want to tell? Do you want to tell everybody?
It's the 10th.
Yeah, July 10th.
I wrote it down once wrong, and he's never let me live it down.
She did write down my birthday, which is the 9th, so if you guys want to send presents, go ahead. Jenny has an extremely special story that I'm going to let her share with you. Many of you guys know some of the health issues that Jenny goes through, but the way that she is going to help you understand how God is working through those, I think, are really going to help you guys out. So, Jenny, will you please share with us?
Okay. Well, when I was 2, the doctors diagnosed me with cystic fibrosis, which is, we call it CF for short. And it's a life-threatening genetic disease that causes mucus to build up in my lungs and other organs. And like the lungs and pancreas, and the mucus clogs the lungs, which makes breathing very difficult. The thick mucus also causes bacteria or germs to get stuck in the airways, which causes infections that lead to lung damage and can ultimately kill the patient. When people look at me, they do not see who I really am. On the outside, I may look normal, but on the inside, I struggle with many, many different things. Everything I do can affect me in some way. I have to stay active, but I have to watch how active I am. Staying up late and just doing short amount of, exercises or just running around can get me very tired very quick. So sometimes I have to push myself, but I can't push too hard. And then sometimes I just have to sit out and watch from the sidelines, which can be kind of hard sometimes. When I'm not sick, Craig, said we are very busy. We run around with friends and we hang out with the youth group, which I love to do. And luckily, I do have better lungs than most CF patients. And I'm blessed in that aspect of it, that I can do those things, because some CF patients, they can't even get out of their house most of the time. So whenever I look at the big picture, CF has been a blessing, and it is, but whenever I look at the bits and pieces, it's struggles and confusion and just lots of questions. And I often ask myself, why do I struggle with such a simple thing? Well, it sounds simple, but it's really complex most of the time. I often think my life is going to end in an instant. Whenever the doctor comes in, they can say, something that could change my life forever. And so it's hard to sit there and take it, and I get real nervous, and I hate going to the doctor, which I have to do about every 4 to 6 weeks for just a regular checkup and to check my lung function. And whenever I was little, my mom said that I would scream whenever a doctor would come in. And so now, sometimes I want to do that, but, I can't because I'm not a little girl anymore. The simple challenges that I face on a daily basis is what makes it so difficult. I have to do, I'm supposed to do. Sometimes I don't. I struggle, I do admit. I'm supposed to do vest airway clearance treatments, which we were going to bring my vest, and Craig was going to make me talk with it on, but you guys wouldn't understand what I was saying. It's basically a vest that inflates, and then it hits my chest for 30 minutes, and I have to do that along with aerosol treatments. That's through nebulizer. I'm supposed to do that 2 to 3 times a day. I struggle with getting one in because it takes so long, and I just have to sit there, and I feel like I have tons of stuff to do. But I'm getting better at it. And also, I have to take pills every time I eat, and that's kind of hard when we're around new people. I don't want to take them because then I'm getting my drugs out, and they're like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, I gotta take pills." And the CF affects your digestive system. You can't break down your food, and you don't absorb it like most people. And so I have to take enzymes, which looks like bird food if you open it up, and I just swallow them. And when I was little, around 10, I started swallowing pills, and I had to take 16 pills every time I ate at that time. Now I'm down to 5, which is awesome, and I'm so grateful about that they have done a lot to, make that go down. So I've learned a lot through CF, and it's hard. And it's hard wondering if you're going to make it to tomorrow. But, God has definitely blessed me. When I was born and whenever I was diagnosed at 2, the doctors told my parents I wouldn't live to be 16. And I'm 30 now, and I'm still going strong. And through everything I've faced, I've not given up on seeing the blessings of what CF has given me. I've seen them through the eyes of God, and God gave me CF for a reason. Every time I'm in the hospital, I have the chance to make someone smile or just to share my story about how God has worked in my life and how he has blessed me through it. And Philippians 4:13 states, "I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength." I know that God is with me, and he will continue to protect me and help me through this. If I take it one day at a time and breathe easy, I will get through it.
Very good job. Now, you talked a little bit about your hospital stays. Just even over the past couple years, we've been in there a little bit more. Why don't you just kind of talk a little bit about what maybe a day looks like in the hospital, and then why it's like how long your stays have been, and what all you do in there.
As you get older, CF gets worse, so it makes it a lot harder to get better. Even if I get a head cold, it can go straight to my lungs, and then I could be in the hospital. So I have to really watch that, and you have to kind of, take it faster than what most of you would do. So whenever I get sick, I usually do end up in the hospital, and most of the time, I don't even know I'm sick because I'm so used to being sick. And most CF visits in the hospital last 2 weeks. This last time, I came home earlier because my schedule was a lot easier. And what I mean by schedule is they put a PICC line in my arm, which you've seen on Facebook, Suns Out, Guns Out, that picture of me with, stuff on my arm. And so they do that, and then they do IV antibiotics through it every 6 hours. So sometimes it's like 3, but this time it was just 2. So it was a lot easier to manage. So I came home with it the last week instead of staying in the hospital 2 weeks because I was tired of being there. And then it was hard to do here because it was like noon, 6 p.m., midnight, 6 a.m., and then all over again. So in the hospital, they just do that for you, which is a lot easier. I just lay there and say, okay, just do it. And then I have to do 4 of my vest treatments in the hospital, so that's on a schedule every 4 hours. And then they take me for physical therapy. They like you to get up out of your bed, which is great. I love that. And one of my favorites was massage therapy. At Children's, they do massages to help you relax, so I like that. That was a good part about being in the hospital that you don't usually get at most hospitals. So that's just my normal stays, and I have been in there more because I just get, a lot worse whenever I get sick quicker, and so they need to get me better faster.
Okay. How do you think, we are talking about broken roads here. Can you maybe use that language a little bit? And you talked about having perspective like we did with the Lou Gehrig story and kind of seeing the blessing of CF. Maybe talk about the opportunities that you could have here in the next few months even.
Well, CF has definitely been a broken road. Whenever I was in college, I didn't do what I needed to do at all. I just wanted to forget about CF. And but now I've come more to accept it, and that it's going to be there no matter what I do. So I need to get healthy and help myself out so that I'm not in the hospital as much. And in August, I will have the opportunity to be part of the clinical trial, which is awesome. That is for my CF gene because there's 1,500 CF genes that you can get, and I know which genes I have because my parents each gave me one, and that made me have CF. And so my gene, they're doing a clinical trial, which I am so happy to be part of. The other gene that they did this trial on, they did a sweat test on a guy, on a patient, and that's how you tell if you have CF, is that my sweat is salty, which is weird, but that's just, you have CF, so that's how they test you. They do a sweat test, and if it's salty, then you have CF. And mine was like off the charts positive. And they did, after this guy did the clinical trial, they did a sweat test to see if it would come back positive, and it came back negative. And so it kind of got rid of CF in a way, but I wouldn't have to do my CF treatments like my breathing. I would still have to take the pills, but I wouldn't have to sit on that machine for 30 minutes, 3 times a day, which would be awesome, and it would give me a lot of freedom, and it's just awesome how far they've came in the past. I have CF for 28 years now, and they're doing awesome things, and I told Craig the other night, finally you can see the light at the end of the tunnel, because with this clinical trial, hopefully it will help me get healthier, and then maybe my dream would come true of having a child one day, because it's really hard for me, and with this trial maybe it'll open up new doors, and it'll be great.
Well, I think it's awesome that you started to cry because, of course,
I never cry. I have a cold heart. I never cry. He cries enough for us.
You know, like we shared at the very beginning with Chris and Ashley, you know, just being able to be a great friend to them and really help them out. And a lot of times with Jeni, a lot of people will say to us, oh, when are you guys going to have kids? When are you going to do this? When are you going to do that? And, you know, I mean, of course you have the regular life, you know, life gets in the way, you know, are we financially set? All of those questions that you always have in your own head. But at the same time, you know, Jeni's health is not really at a place, I mean, it's pretty close. I mean, to be able to have a child, and I know, like, for her, whenever we talk a lot, that's the one thing that, you know, always comes up time after time after time. And, you know, the answer is, well, we've just got to get you healthier. And so one of the neat parts about, you know, just with Bowen and with Chris and Ashley, you know, they have not necessarily that it's our child too, but at the same time, it's just cool to have great friends who trust you and know that you have the best interests at heart for their child also. So anytime that Bowen is around and Jeni's around, that baby is usually in her arms, or any baby for that matter. So, but I know that even as we started to date, when we were in college, whenever I found out of cystic fibrosis, I mean, I had zero clue. I didn't even know what that even was. And I remember going home and telling my mom, you know, hey, there's this girl at school. Her name's Jeni, and I'd really like to date her, but I need to find out what is cystic fibrosis. You know, what's it all about? And we started to find out some statistics, and it could be very discouraging. I mean, one of the very first things that we found out was most CF patients don't live past the age of 18, and of course at that point Jeni was 19. You know, so you're thinking to yourself, okay, well, what does that really mean? And does that mean that she's healthier, or that she just had some good luck, or whatever? What does that really mean? But the more and more I got to know her, the more and more I understood that God really had his hand on her, and he was guiding her to do something very, very special. And I think that this is the time, this is the opportunity that she really has, and that God's going to shine through her the most, because even 5 years ago, when Jeni and I first came here, there would have been no way that she would have done this. And as we were really talking about, you know, what this series looked like and what I really wanted to try to do with it, I was like, you know, I've really been thinking about asking you, but I know you get really nervous in front of people, and I know you don't really like to talk about it a little bit, would you be interested? And she was like, yeah, I would do it. And I thought, whoa, who is this lady? But I think just the perspective, just the opportunity to see that there is, like Jeni used the term, light at the end of the tunnel. Okay, that light, okay, that perspective is God. Okay, He continues to have His hand upon you, whether you know it or you don't. Every time during those troublesome times, even if you don't know Christ, I had a professor in college that said that before she knew Christ, it was just her way of building her testimony. And I love that, because a lot of times when you don't know Jesus, and you think, man, I'm a real screw up, I've really messed this up, you know, God's going to use that opportunity for you. I've expressed this many different times. I mean, when my mom and my dad got a divorce, I couldn't believe it. I didn't really know what to do. I mean, I lived in Gallia County where everybody knew everybody's business, and I didn't want everybody to know that my family was broken. And I didn't know where to go from that. But now whenever I look at my youth group on Sunday night, and probably there's like 2 families that are still together, which is really, really exciting, and we need to continue to promote and encourage that. But the majority of the kids that I deal with on a Sunday and Wednesday night come from divorced families. You know, it shows me that even in tough times, even in trials, God has His hand on you, and He gives you an opportunity to move forward and to grow in Him if you want to. You can get past the broken road if you want to. All you have to do is to say yes. And that's exactly what Jeni has done here. She has been faced with something that's extremely difficult, but the best part about it is she knows who her Savior is. She understands how God is going to change her life and what He wants to do with it. And I don't know about you, but that right there drives me to be stronger. It drives me to be stronger as a husband. It drives me stronger to be a pastor. It drives me to be a better friend to people who are going through tough times, because we understand as a family what that really looks like. And so for many of you guys, I don't tell the Lou Gehrig story, and I don't have Jeni share so you can see their lives are worse than yours. What I want you to understand is in both those situations, they understood perspective. They understood who God is and what he's going to do for them, how he's going to show up. And I think that is the most important part for you guys to be able to go away with this morning. I think this series is going to be maybe a whole lot different than what you're used to. And you know what? That's okay. Because there are going to be people that you meet on this stage, and you're going to hear their story, and maybe you know them a little bit or where they've come from some, but you haven't heard the entire thing. And I think at that point, the scales start to come off your eyes, and you understand how God is really touching people and changing lives. And that is what this church needs, okay? Do you guys believe that? I believe that. Because I believe whenever you're able to build a community of like-minded believers who want one thing, and that one thing is to grow in Christ and to love others, man, you can't be stopped when that happens. I'd like to pray with you guys, and if the band could go ahead and come. Why don't you guys give Jeni a hand as she leaves. Will you guys please stand with me? Like I said, a whole lot different than maybe Pastor Greg or Pastor Jamie would have presented to you on a Sunday morning. But without a doubt, I know that God is going to do some amazing things through this Broken Road series. So will you please bow your head with me? Let me pray with you. Dear gracious Heavenly Father, I love you so much. I love that in times that are extremely tough for us, when things maybe on Sunday mornings don't go the way that they're planned, that you just show up, and that you show up in a big way. That you are the light that we're running after. That you are our everything. That all we have to do to you is just say yes, and you're going to come in and change our life. Is it going to be easy? No, it will not be. But the love that you show, the encouragement that you show, the opportunity that you have to change our lives is immense, and I thank you for that. I pray that as we get ready and close this morning, Lord, that if there's anyone here that are going through tough times right now, that they would understand that you are a God who loves them, that they have an opportunity to say yes to you today, not tomorrow, not next week, but today they can make a decision, Lord. I want to pray for Steve and the band this morning, and I just pray that you would just continue to just guide them in who you are and what you want for us, Lord. I just love you and thank you for everything that you do for us. In your awesome name we pray. Amen.
You've been listening to Step Out of the Boat with Pastor Greg Scott of Fellowship of Faith Church in Rio Grande, Ohio. For more info, go to fellowshipoffaith.net or call 740-245-0900. That's fellowshipoffaith.net or 740-245-0900.